enseignant à politique. So hi, where are you from?
I am from Toronto, Ontario.
Okay. What program are you in right now?
I'm in Women's Studies and Philosophy with a minor in Sociology.
Marie-Aristide.
Et tu étudies dans quel programme?
Sociologie et théorie politique.
So I'm just going to ask you a few political questions concerning Quebec. How much do you know about Quebec?
A fair bit. I mean, I have studied Canadian politics before. I know about the referendum crises, as well as attempts at secession from Canada.
Do you know a lot about Quebec or have a knowledge?
I'm dating a Quebecer, but that's about as extensive as my knowledge goes.
Okay. So you know that we had 2 referendums here in Quebec?
Yeah.
And we're trying to get an independence, right?
Yeah.
So, do you know that the politics here is we're mostly talking about independence? What do you think about it? Should we separate from Canada?
Well, I'm not too familiar with the provincial politics here in Quebec. I'm not aware of the current movements. But I think, to be fair, if there is a majority of the population who wants to, then it should be. There's still the Clarity Act in 2000. It's still not clearly defined how much of a population, I think, percentage is needed to secede. But certainly if I can't come up with a number if the politicians haven't, if there's a large part of it, is it maybe the 50+1, maybe the 66 that Mulcair wanted, then they should, yeah.
Or what do you think?
What do I think? I think there'd be a lot of problems with separating. I certainly wouldn't want Quebec to separate. I love Quebec. I love having it as part of the Canadian identity. I think is what makes us stronger, having both the French and English identities as well as the different histories. It really adds to the cultural makeup of Canada. I think there'd be a lot of economic problems too with resource management, what the federal government owns, what the provincial government owns, what to do with native reserves as well. That's under federal jurisdiction as well. And especially resources and border control and taxation. It would take a very long time, very complicated process to go to the Supreme Court, I think.
Do you know that Quebec tried to separate twice in the past and we failed? And we're trying to, politicians are trying to get us to separate again, but now people are declining their interest. But what do you think about it? What's your personal opinion? Should we separate from Canada?
Coming from like outside of Canada, a province outside of Canada, I can definitely say that the general feeling for it is that Quebec shouldn't separate.
Okay.
And that was, I didn't think a lot about it, but that was kind of how I felt until coming here. Yeah. And then being able to speak with more Quebecers and kind of experience why, like they're completely valid reasons why they want to separate. I don't think I am knowledgeable enough or in a position where I can have an opinion that matters about it, but I do think that they have valid reasons, which is not something I thought of before.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. But as a whole, as Canadians, fellow Canadians, do you think we should leave? And can anyone fill the gap that we left, or should we just stay as a nation and continue growing? What do you think?
I think it would be extremely complex, a complex thing to leave, and I don't think it would necessarily benefit Quebec as much as a lot of Quebecers seem to think. Yeah. And I don't think it would hurt Canada as much as the rest of Canada seems to think. So if Quebec does separate, this is going to be an opinion that comes from someone who's outside of Canada. Like, I don't consider myself a Quebecer, but I think it would cause more problems for Quebec and Canada than it would, and we should be working on relations and building bridges as opposed to tearing them down.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
D'accord. Et en fait, on a des questions par rapport au clivage entre le souverainiste et le fédéralisme qu'on a posé à ton ami. Oui. Et on se demande, premièrement, est-ce que tu penses que le Québec a les capacités ou devrait se séparer du Canada?
Un peu comme mon ami a dit, mes études ne sont pas guidées vers le Canada puis toutes les complexités qui sorry, je vais changer en anglais parce que je veux vraiment que mon opinion paraît comme. Okay, bon. So I think that there's a lot of complexities that I'm obviously unaware of, not having studied in Canadian politics specifically. Though my opinion of what I've seen so far is that Canada and Quebec, if you just look at the legal system, or if you look at the language, if you leave Quebec, there is a distinction of the type of people and of the culture. You're going to see that. Whether Quebec separates or not, I think that distinction will always be there. And I think having to separate for whatever reasons, I don't think it's going to add much. I think it will add complexity and having to do with customs and healthcare, and I feel like that's not something we should want to impose on our citizens. We should want to make things easier and more cohesive, and I think Quebec has a beautiful history with the rest of Canada, and I feel like we're taking away from it by separating ourselves. So I think that our focus should be on, like, as soon as you try to separate yourself, from anything, I feel you're making yourself a target for more problems. So I think right now we're fine, and I think we do have an independence, and our sense of self is still there, regardless of being a part of Canada or not.
Donc, ce que tu dis, grosso modo, c'est qu'il y a un caractère distinct qui est reconnu aux Québécois qui n'ont pas nécessairement besoin de se séparer pour que ce soit reconnu comme une espèce de nation. En fait.
Exact.
Et, bref, est-ce qu'on a d'autres questions à ce propos-là? Est-ce qu'on peut te demander peut-être, est-ce que tu crois, je t'ai demandé un peu tantôt, est-ce que tu penses que les Québécois vont trop accorder l'importance justement à cette question-là de séparation pour peut-être mettre de côté d'autres réelles problématiques qu'on peut avoir en ce moment au Québec?
Ben, j'ai fait la majorité de mes études en français et je comprends et je peux sympathiser, I can sympathize with that, parce que quand je vais à Toronto par exemple, il y a une forte présence d'anglicisme des États-Unis, puis c'est sûr que étant Québec et on veut garder notre identité, moi aussi j'aurais peur si je voyais cette vague d'anglicisme venir empiler sur ma culture, mais en même temps il faut comprendre qu'il ne faut pas s'attacher trop au passé, il faut vraiment aller avec le temps et voir qu'on a beaucoup à bénéficier, like there's a lot to gain from, yes, remembering that we are French, but also that there's a lot to learn, a lot to gain from other things. So I understand why we would be afraid and why we would want to separate, to kind of enclose and to kind of keep this dome of Frenchness and Quebecness, because we are very proud of culture and I think it's a beautiful thing, but I don't know, I feel like there's always more to gain in acceptance, there's always more strength and power and things to be learned from other cultures, so we should keep our ears and eyes open for the future.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.